Hello and welcome to this AskReddit video. In this episode, ex-inmates of Reddit. What was the stupidest thing you've seen a new inmate do on his first day in prison? I've never been to prison, but I've been to county and state jails. I'm in Texas. I was shocked at how all the races got along so well together. I was expecting it to resemble Alabama in the 60s. But for the most part, we were all in it together. You always back your kinfolk. But other than that, the code is inmates versus guards. Not black versus white. Hell, there were black guys in the white gangs, and white guys in the black gangs. I'm white, but mainly spent time with the Latinos. Really didn't want to get a swastika tattoo. Edit. Since there has been confusion, I'm going to explain what a state jail is in Texas. Our state jails house two kinds of inmates. Those serving a sentence of 1, 2 years, or when they are convicted of what we call a state jail felony. You see, our judges are the ultimate authority down here. If you've never been to Texas, trust me, it's weird. We do have our Congress, of course, but they see a minuscule amount of cases, which come from our judges. Then we have our governor who has faith in our judges while he's mobilizing our National Guard at the Mexico border. Whenever a judge decides to do whatever the hell they want for sentencing, it gets called a state jail felony. They generally increase the sentencing drastically. Don't piss off your judge in Texas. They also don't mind putting the guy doing time for having more than 2 ahs of weed with the guy that brutally killed somebody with a machete. We're all criminals. I did 14 years in federal prison for wire fraud. I got out last February. I'm 36. Some things I can say are these. While your sexuality may not be an issue outside of prison, inside prison, male inmates who are openly gay are generally disrespected. Gambling and drugs create debts that are at some point unable to be paid and can result in serious issues for yourself. Most prisons operate a social hierarchy based on gang affiliations or hometowns, although there can be large separations based on race. However, rapists and child molesters will basically be free game for anyone who wants to take their shit or torment them. You might have been a badass outside of prison, but generally you can't fight several people at once, which is what would happen if you talk about how much of a badass you are. Keep your shit to yourself, and don't talk crazy to people, which is seen as disrespect. Respect/disrespect has a different meaning in prison, and you'll figure it out. Best to just keep to yourself, as much as possible, unless you want to embrace prison life and become institutionalized. Prison is not a place to make friends. This may not have been his first day, but I will never forget this. This while I was in the intake tank, which is the first tank or section you go into after being processed in county. This young kid comes into county and keeps complaining that he doesn't get his cannabinol and other marijuana-related prescriptions in jail. He was really arrogant and constant pissing everyone off. During count 1 day, as we were all in our bunks, he starts complaining again and then says to the guard, "What if we all riot immediately like 10 other guys yell very loudly, 'We don't know or agree with him'?" The guard then says, "What the fuck did you say?" The kid then continues about rioting and that he has rights. Everyone in the tank fucking stays like frozen in their bunk, trying their best to be non-threatening, and also show they have no interest in what this moron is saying. So the guard picks him up by his throat and slams him into the wall. After scaring the kid shitless, he explains he has a new charge for inciting a riot. Kid gets hauled off to solitary. Never saw him again, but I heard he spent the rest of his 30, 60, 90 whatever amount days in solitary. Absolutely insane to me that he'd say that in a fucking county jail. Went in when I was a young idiot. Our pod was all bunk beds, no cells, just the room with beds, and a side room with the TV. It was a unit for all the people working the same job. New guy comes in, little white dude, quiet and kept to himself. Until one night, out of nowhere, he starts sprinting around the room singing at the top of his lungs in the tune of Black Sabbath's Iron Man, but changed the lyrics to, "I am then Word Man, running through the hood from the Ku Klux Klan." Everyone was just kind of frozen for about 15 seconds, seriously confused. Then someone tripped him, and then it was just mayhem until the CO could get enough help to disperse the crowd. I remember being surprised he survived. Everyone in the unit had steel toe boots for the job we did, holding them and hitting him in with them instead of wearing and kicking. The scene afterwards where all the guys are trying to figure out whose boots are whose, and comparing whose had the most blood was freaking surreal. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe and check the others.